Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of the ReZero Spoilercast thing. This is a podcast where we talk about the web novel ReZero, which is translated by translation on the site Translation Chicken.
We like chickens.
I'm not sure who's actually
especially roast chickens.
Translating it. Yes.
I'd eat him up.
And if you haven't already read these chapters, you should probably click off now because we're going to be talking about the pretty spoiler-ish. Yeah. So go read them, I guess. If you're still here, why are you here?
There's a huge amount of like little tidbits that are teased in like these 5 chapters that we're going to talk about too. That will be like very important for later on. And I've read them before, and it was only when I like reread them for this podcast I realised, holy crap, there's a lot of foreshadowing here. So it's there's lots of spoiler stuff.
If you don't know who the person is that's talking, introduce yourself.
I am the Hentai Senpai, and I love you all. Yeah.
No, it's Ray Asaka. He is the master of ReZero. He knows everything about it.
No, I don't. not everything. I'm only up to.
He's close friends. He's close friends with Reki Kawahara. So. So that's the guy who makes ReZero, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course.
Oh man! By the way, that's the guy who made SAO, not ReZero. So.
Oh, I certainly hope so.
Well, I did see Asuna in this chapter, so I don't know. Was I reading the right web novel here?
I think so. You talking about the Witch of Wrath with the big boobies?
Oh, well, I guess we should go ahead and get into it, right? So, if you haven't seen the last 3 episodes we covered, or the last 2, we covered chapters basically 1 through 10. And this is going to be chapters 11 through 15. And these chapters, to kind of preface the whole thing, there's a lot that goes on. Yeah.
They're really long chapters, too. Really long.
Yes, very long. And if you've read any of the chapters before, you know there's a lot of detail. Yeah. But I think this is the most detailed kind of group we've read so far.
That was a huge amount of detail. I think in chapter 13 you said, I've had a look at your notes, and I know you weren't that impressed with that chapter, but I picked up on a few things that you may have missed. Benefits of a reread after reading 60 odd chapters.
But chapter 13 is for later. For now, we're going to do chapter 11. Titled Prideful, Slothful Wrath. The chapter focuses around Echidona trying to convince Subaru that she is not as intimidating as she seems. So to do this, the whole chapter Subaru is tortured basically by the Wraith of Pride, Typhon, the Witch of Sloth, Sekhmet?
Yeah, Sekhmet, right? Yep.
And the Witch of Wrath, Minerva.
Oh, best girl.
He starts off...
Big boobs, lots of wrath, angry.
So, he starts off by meeting Typhoon, who is described as this little itty bitty girl with like green hair, kind of like oh god, what's her name? God, who is the other little girl in this series?
Petra.
The drill lolly. No, the drill lolly.
Oh, Beatrice.
Yeah, Beatrice. Think of that, right? Around that size. She rips off, Typhon basically rips off his right arm, then cuts his legs off from the knees. And by the way, he doesn't feel any of this because Typhon's like, yeah, well, you don't bleed and you don't feel any of this. So he's just kind of like...
That's the thing. Like, you get introduced to their like their powers, and that's a very weird power for a witch to have, or not necessarily a witch, but anyone to have. Where like the attacks will only hurt if you're a quote unquote bad person, and that's very interesting. I'd like to know more about that. I'm not quite sure how that exactly works. And another thing that is quite you mentioned just a moment ago about about it being a lolly. Wait until you meet the Witch of Lust. I will say no more.
Okay, well, moving on.
Fan fiction shall be written.
This is Garfield, everybody.
I'm the strongest.
Give it up for Garfield. Round of applause.
That's my other alias in the Discord.
Oh yeah, that's his other alias. Yeah, I've gotten used to calling him Garfield now. Still Ray Zonga, same people. So he then meets Sekhmet, who basically complains about breathing.
Oh, that was
pretty
brilliant.
Yeah, she's like generally annoyed about her like own existence.
Oh, breathing's too much of a bother. I thought if she came into the world of recreators, she would be in the story of Tanaka Kun is always listless.
And
probably won't matter.
She's also dressed in these like tattered robes, and she has this like dark purple hair for people who.
There's a lot of hype surrounding Sekhmet as well. Later on in like chapter 12 or 13, we'll get into that later. But I'm looking forward to talking about her in chapter 12.
After Sekhmet just kind of goes away, does nothing to Subaru, just confuses him further. He then meets Minerva, who is like, pretty much like the most kawaii desuist of the bunch.
Oh god, yes.
She has very light hair, is well endowed.
Her
body type is also, I think, kind of described as more realistic compared to the others before. As they kind of describe it in, like, I think they say it exactly as she has a womanly body rather than anime body. So
the artwork for it looks really nice as well. we should get something up on screen if we can for that, for the gentle viewers.
Wow. I mean, we probably will. Don't they have official art of her up?
I expect so, yeah. There's probably some about somewhere.
So Subaru, at this point, he has no legs or an arm.
No.
So.
Oh, and he says the funniest thing as well. He when after like say Minerva like shows him his like her ability of beating him up to then reattach his limbs, and Subaru's like, oh, things are looking up. I can stand the walk. I can do the moonwalk now.
Oh yeah, he moonwalks. Yeah. So basically, what happens is Subaru is healed by Minerva, but different methods.
Yeah.
He's literally beaten to death.
Yeah.
Well, I guess beaten to life would be the best way to say it.
Do you? I don't know if I'm the only one who notices, but do you find it strange how none of the witches, or even like the archbishops of the witches' cult, none of their personalities really match up to their allotted sin, as it were? Like apart from Sekhmet, in out of the three witches we were introduced to, none of them like Minerva doesn't seem to be genuinely wrathful, but
well, she
seems quite a kind-hearted person generally.
Yeah.
And like Typhon didn't seem overly prideful, I guess. I'm not yeah, she didn't seem that prideful to me.
It's remained to be seen about her. I think we didn't get enough.
No.
In my opinion.
And I want to make a joke as well. a bit of a NSFW joke. So if you've read ahead in the manga, not the manga, the web novel, you'll know who Daphne is, the Witch of Gluttony. And I came up with a funny idea reading this. So if Daphne eats Minerva out, it may finally her hunger may finally be satisfied. It would be more funny if you've read ahead.
So Minerva basically kind of just walks off, and Subaru's back with Echidna, and Echidona's like, "Trust me, I'm not as bad as I seem."
I don't believe that for a second. We'll find out like in chapter 12 that she's not the most powerful, but I am sure 100% that she's the most cunning. I think she could be one of the main villains of the show, sort of moving forward.
In this chapter, I really loved the detail of describing each of the witches, and another like example of that, and not just the witches and how they look, is describing Subaru's injuries.
Yeah.
Like the way he describes the inside of his shoulder.
Oh yeah, the author is
gruesome.
We haven't really had much since we've only been reading, I guess, the web novel since the end of Arc 3. But I've got some of the light novels here, and like the detail of some of the gore and like the violence is really really good. So, when you get to some of the stuff with Elsa later on in this arc, it's gonna be good, and with the rabbits. killer rabbits.
The rabbits.
Yeah.
The rabbits.
Yeah, there's gonna be rabbits.
I'm not even gonna ask. I'm not even gonna ask.
Yeah, that's it. It's really, really descriptive when it comes to the gore. Very good.
Apparently, in my notes, I don't remember writing this.
I think I might have done that for you.
It says, "I want to be a darling in Garfield's Franks." I don't know what that means.
I
don't want to know what that means.
Well, I just thought it was funny because you didn't really like the show, and I don't know. It made me chuckle. I just kind of came up with it when I was rereading the notes beforehand, and I just kind of put it in there for the lols. You know, last time I put in there, you love Micah-chan, so I had to do something this time as well.
This is what happens when you give Garfield the rights to edit a Google Doc.
So what's next? So in the narration as well, it's just like the intimidation of Echidonna is focused on quite heavily. I think it's narrated that like the sense of overwhelming presence of menace that transcended entity was of an entirely different level to all other things. And when I think like that was just a dream, even if she's like a witch, to drive like such fear into Subaru, like the dream of a dead person is kind of crazy. And I think it almost feels inevitable at some point she's coming back. She ain't staying dead forever.
So she can romance Otto? That's the one thing I want. Echidonna and Otto. And it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but I want it.
I know.
I don't know why.
Like
it just doesn't. Like the witch and the human.
I know. Like who on earth would be? Who on earth would be Echidonna's partner apart from someone as light-hearted and kind as Otto?
I know. I could believe it if Echidonna looked at Otto and got to know Otto, she would be like, "This guy's amazing. Yeah. Like what? He's awesome."
She would have a lot of fun toying with him as well, I think. But I could ship it. I think I could ship it.
It's shippable.
Yeah.
So So the way it's described is Subaru kind of like when he's like in this limbless state, he's kind of almost like going insane, and I felt they really conveyed that pretty well through the writing. I felt like definitely the viewer.
Yeah,
it was such.
There were elements where it felt somewhat comedic as well when he realised it wasn't when it wasn't necessarily like there's not going to be any real consequences to it. He was having a bit of fun like with the moonwalk and things, but to begin with, it was like
But I think like it really conveyed to the reader how in mental despair Subaru was in this moment. He was just like, what is going on? It was so confusing. And it was confusing to the reader as well, the way it was written. There wasn't much details going on about like why this is happening. And I was just like reading it and I was just like, what is going on? Like it was just a really cool thing this guy does with his writing.
The only explanation we're really given is it's to make Subaru think that Echidonna is less harmful, which to this day I still do not believe.
I believe
I don't believe it. Who do you think you are, Naruto?
Naruto.
Not again.
So I mean, yeah, this whole chapter pretty much. It's a long chapter, but it happens in a relatively quick span of time.
Yeah, there's not. I think I've covered all the points I wanted to talk about with this. Unless you've got anything else.
The last note it says Echidonna is one bad bitch. So
yeah, if you go to my Kitsu page on my favorite characters, just like the thumbnail for a character under favorite characters is beautiful.
It's the one where she's drinking bodily fluid tea, right?
Maybe. Let me have a look. No, she's just kind of sat there in her sort of black morning clothing or whatever it is, which looks kind of hot.
Never change. Never change. So, is that all we got on chapter 11?
I think so. So
starting off with chapter 12, a souvenir from the Tea Party. Subaru has a sit-down conversation after the events of chapter 11 and with the Witch of Greed, Echidonna. We learn that Echidonna collected the souls of these witches and actually considers them good friends. And then the conversation kind of skips around to a bit to the Great Rabbit, We are reminded of the great rabbit,
Yes,
the white whale,
so
and the great serpent.
I mentioned the rabbits earlier, and Subaru tries to like move the conversation on because he's not interested in learning about the Marbies. And like, Subaru, you tit, they're going to be one of the main villains this arc.
So, moving on, Subaru informs Echidona of his accomplishments regarding the white whale and stuff, and she is actually not impressed because she informs Subaru about the Reed family line and that this person, Australia Reed.
Oh yeah.
Do we know about him?
That's right, Ryan.
Like prior, like prior in the story.
No, it's basically like Reinhardt's ancestor.
Oh, okay.
Like from 400 years ago, I think. We don't really have a huge amount more info as of like chapter 65.
But I think that Echidona's like, yeah, well, good job killing the white whale and all, but this guy, Reed, he could have like killed it pretty easy.
Yeah.
So Subaru then basically asks Echidona if she is a ghost and that the one who bound her there was the divine. What did I write here? What is this? This doesn't make any sense.
So I think Echidona tells him
right
that like her existence is a dream, like bound to that graveyard by like Volcanica, one of the like 3 like forces that like sealed Tutela away long ago. And
which is the dragon in the beginning of the series,
yeah,
right? And
it's basically acts as like a counterforce against Tutela should she break free, which is kind of ironic since in like episode 6 or 7 of the anime, you see Roswell sitting with Ram, and he says everything is for my like purpose of slaying the dragon. So like, I don't know what's going to happen when the dragon slays. Does Tutela get released? And if so, why is Roswell like the gravekeeper of the Witch of Greed? I'm not sure if he's on their side. I'm really not sure if he's on their side or what. Roswell is a complete mystery to me at this moment in time.
Oh yeah, Roswell.
And why does he endorse Amelia as well? When like Echidona drops so many hints of how much she hates Tutela throughout this conversation. And I'm almost certain that Amelia is the Tutela of the future. Like, she'll become Tutela and then at some point go back in time or something.
I think... Now, hear me out here. Kyoto Animation will make an anime called ReZero, right? And it'll be their version of it. And it'll just be kawaii, cute desu boys.
Like Ferris. Ferris the anime.
Yes, it'll be called Ferris the anime. And it'll be just about cat boys.
That's kind of cool. I dig that. I dig it.
That's where this is going. This whole thing. The conversation then shifts to Roswell, and Echidona is surprised to actually hear this name. It is basically revealed that the Roswell name is carried down from generations to generations to keep the sanctuary in the name of the family. It is then revealed, which I have in brackets here, Jesus Christ, when will this end? That Echidona, it's very long, that Echidona knows Puck, and then the T starts to take effect on Subaru, which I'm like, I knew, everyone like knew this was coming right away when he drank the tea, right? So, Echidona, with the tea, apparently awakens the witch genes inside Subaru.
Like I
don't know what's going on with that.
I mean,
what?
Do you want me to spoil you?
No. No
okay.
spoils.
It's hard for me to really play devil's advocate and just try and tease without spoiling, because I know exactly what the witch genes are. But yeah, we'll just we'll leave that for our viewers' imagination.
We'll get we'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, awakened. These witch genes apparently awakened after killing the white whale, and then
I thought it was after killing
Echidona's
Betelgeuse, but
oh, it's one of them. I don't know, man. It was a long chapter. It was hard to recall anything in this.
Make more concise notes, damn it.
Well, actually, I usually write these pretty late in the night, so it just happens. And plus, this one is a long chapter.
It was. We can let a few inconsistencies slip, I think.
So yeah, Chidona's like, you're signing a one-way contract, so Subaru can never speak of the dream or any of that ever again.
That's after they like conclude their conversation, and Subaru's ready to. He's got the information he wants, and he's ready to go back to reality and make love to his waifu.
So the first thing I want to ask, Echidona and Roswaal, what is their like? Well, since she knows the
I'm not sure. I mean,
guess.
There's a hint in like the narration, so it goes. Even as she said this, Echidona's lips rose into a smile. In fact, it was exactly like the gaze of a parent who was watching over their naughty child. Subaru thought he must be mistaken anyhow. Perhaps it's Echidona's son, maybe.
That's what I thought at first as well when I read that.
But then there's something in like the next chapter as well that makes me think, maybe it's Roswell's not really Roswell. He's like an impersonator or something. And
right. It's confusing.
Yeah, I had this. I do have a theory that he could have potentially killed. Like Roswell isn't really Roswell, and he's like some random, not necessarily some random guy, but an important like character in the story of ReZero, and he killed and assumed the role as like master of the house, like the House of Mathers, which would kind of make sense for why he wants to kill like Volcanica if he's not really like the real Mathers family, since if he kills like Volcanica, then the Witch of Envy is probably going to get free, and that's not what Echidona would want. That's
it's
my
going to be
theory,
interesting.
anyway.
It's going to be interesting to see where, because there's just a lot of implications in this.
There's probably more.
There's probably so massive.
This chapter had so much detail that I'm even now I've probably missed things. I mean, I'm only at chapter like 65 of Arc 4, but there's probably so many like little things here that
69
that were important.
Get it? 69 of our 4, 69 out of 4.
Oh yeah, that's illegal. Yeah. That's illegal, Garfield.
That's illegal. So when Echidona is signing the one-way contract or whatever it is to never speak, she says something to the lines of, "Oh, you've signed another contract just like this."
Yeah.
So are there other people that just know that he has this that are just not speaking up? Is that possible, I guess, in this world? That other people can know?
I mean, I think Roswell knows some. He may not know exactly what it is, but I'm sure Roswell knows like something's up with Subaru. I'm not sure what exactly, but he knows something's up. We'll get into that when we see the book he has later on. But I think like Satella definitely knows, and you'll get more into that when we meet her again, like later on, like chapter 49, 48, 50, something like along those lines.
69.
We'll get we'll have an interesting encounter and confession of sorts about
confession of love.
No, not of love, of the thing he's forbidden to speak about.
Oh, okay.
And it doesn't turn out well. But
it's gonna be very.
But I'm sure there's other people who know. There must be.
Yeah, like I was just.
Roswell is the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, there's just got to be people out there that know just by looking at him, like, oh, okay, this guy, he's got the thing going on, or there's just got to be, right? I mean, it's so like with how Subaru acts sometimes, you got to think something's up with him. Because there's some chapters and some parts in the show as well where he like acts erratically, and they're like, "What's happening?"
I mean, so far Echidon is the only one who like 100% knows for sure, but
that we know of.
But it feels like the way other characters act around him, though. I don't think there's no, apart from Roswell, there's no character that I think has like the potential to know yet that we've been introduced to so far. I mean, like moving forward, there might be like new characters that know. But we'll see.
So, another cool little tidbit they dropped is that Echidona is like Puck's protege in a way. Like, they know each other?
Yeah, so she said like she thinks of him as a role model, which to me is more reason not to trust her, because Puck so far has been very shady and not giving me much reason to trust him.
He's not a cute Neko.
No, not anymore. But
he's done did it.
Yeah, I've got so many notes here. So earlier at the start of the chapter, she says she's like collected all the witches' souls, and I'm thinking, if you've collected the witches' souls, how easy is it for you to transplant them into a host body? And like Subaru says, I probably shouldn't overlook when she tells him about collecting the witches' souls. He was, I probably shouldn't overlook this, and then he goes and exactly does that. Like, you blockhead, Subaru, you absolutely should not overlook this. And I and as well as the fact that she says like her existence is like a countermeasure against Satella's revival. It just screams that they're going to get revived at some point. There's no doubt about it.
Seems all like a coup to me.
Yeah.
There's something fishier going on here.
I made.
This is the Watergate of the ReZero universe.
I made a note about rabbit droppings. And I forget what I wanted to say about it now, but I remember thinking it was hilarious the way they used an analogy of rabbits eating their own droppings as foreshadowing for one of the Marbeasts, the Great Rabbit, and I thought it was quite an amusing way of foreshadowing what was going to come later on in this arc.
Guts is going to fight this rabbit, right?
I thought Beatrice was, but we can have Guts as well.
Because I'm pretty sure Guts fights a huge rabbit in Berserk as well.
I haven't got that far. I haven't even read the manga yet. I've seen the anime, which I really liked.
I've read 300 chapters of the manga. I wish it would end. Let it end! So chapter 13.
Wait.
You still got more to talk about?
Yeah, I've still got more. I want to talk more about Sekhmet. In this, Echidon says, so the Stealing Stone, it's not unbreakable, and like Volcanica, it's not immortal either, which is interesting, and that Volcanica would have chosen like the Witch of Sloth Sekhmet if she hadn't beaten the crap out of him, and somewhat soured their love. From what Echidon seemed to be saying, there's some sort of romantic interest, but so it kind of makes me interested to see just like how powerful, or like what sort of power Sekhmet has, and just more of her character really, and like what her backstory is. And like I think Echidonna even said if like all five of the witches fought together, I don't think they'd be able to win against her. So that was
an interesting tidbit too. That was really interesting. So does that imply that Sekhmet is one of the strongest beings in the ReZero universe?
We don't really know about what drove Satella to end the world, and we don't know if she was in some sort of mental state where she just wasn't like normal, if she was under some sort of curse, or I really don't know. But I mean, she obviously got beaten by Satella, but we don't know if that was in a straight up fight, or if that came out of nowhere, if they thought they were friends and she sort of like turned around and just ate her one day or something. But she is for sure one of the more powerful.
But she's called Waidesu.
Like if she's powerful enough to beat up like Volcanica, and when you think Volcanica, the sage, I think, is it Shawla? The sage Shawla? No, I forget the name of the sage now. But and Reinhard's ancestor, and you think three of them only barely put Shidonna away, and Sekhmet could beat up the dragon. It kind of it makes you curious.
So Subaru is the one that's going to put all of them away. He's going to be like, at the very end of ReZero, he's gonna stand tall above them darn witches. He's going to be like, I'm the strongest.
Subaru's going to be very powerful by the end of the show. I have a theory about Subaru. I'm not sure if I should share it here, since we haven't really.
Maybe later when it's more appropriate.
Yeah, maybe towards the end of Arc 4 or something. Once we get
more info. Yeah, something like that. That makes more sense. That'll be a couple months away.
I've thought of something else as well. you know how in the interludes, so Rem was attacked by the Archbishop of, was it Greed or Gluttony? I'm not sure which one. Like
Gluttony.
I think put her into slumber. Yeah, it was probably Gluttony, but it just kind of baffled me why I didn't ask about a way to sort of break up Rem. Like surely she would know.
Oh yeah.
Like she's the apostle of greed, and she pretty much she claims to know everything that's ever happened in the world.
That's true. So that means she should, in theory, know how to save Ring.
Yeah, it just kind of, I don't know if that was an oversight on the author's part or just Subaru being a bit of a dunce.
I see. What I think it is no one likes Rem. That's what
I don't like Rem anymore after chapter 65 when we got the Amelia greatness.
Oh man,
it was such a good chapter.
Amelia.
Oh, Amelia-chan
was already the best one, right? I mean, we've already.
That's true. Yeah.
Rem's terrible. Rem's just the worst.
Yeah.
Ram's better than Rim.
Yeah, Ram's grown on me now. I like her sassy nature. I did find it interesting though how we may have mentioned this in the last podcast, but initially in the initial loops of ReZero, Subaru was initially like more like closer to Ram than he was to Rem, and it's only when he sort of stops Rem from like killing him, I guess, that they sort of become chummy, and he gets on the bad side of Ram.
So what you're trying to say is fact. Ram is a good sister.
Yeah, I like Ram. I mean, Garfield likes her, so you know she can't be that bad.
So chapter 13,
yeah.
Roswell's intentions, the chapter I hated thoroughly.
Well, hopefully I may be able to fill in some gaps.
This chapter to me, just as like a preface of how much I didn't like this chapter and how much I was bored out of my mind. So, you know, like a trilogy of movies, there's like the middle movie.
Yeah.
This felt like the middle movie, but it's one of those really bad middle movies that don't do anything.
I kind of like The Matrix Reloaded.
Wow. Okay, that's a quote. Okay, someone put that as a quote. Make it a meme. So the chapter begins with Subaru waking up in a broken down bed with Amelia looking over him. We found out later who this bed belongs to, but we have a moment between Amelia and Subaru again. Subaru has trouble trying to explain what happened with Etidona, deciding that it felt like a vague memory, or even a dream. Ram then walks into the scene and belittles Subaru, who apologizes for not listening to her, but in walks Roswell to stop the scalding. I guess kind of spares him. Roswell then asks if the qualifications are confirmed, and we learn what happens if you're not qualified. You are basically kind of killed.
Yeah, well,
like,
not
right then and there.
I mean, it kind of depends on like the difference of injury is reflective of how much mana you have. Basically, like the more mana gates you have is like the more you get fucked over, I guess.
Okay.
I think that's I think maybe was it Otto who explained it? I can't remember, but someone explained it like that. So like someone like Subaru, who's not really, he doesn't really know much magic apart from his random bit of dark magic where he just kind of explodes fog everywhere. He didn't receive much damage, but Roswell, who's like the greatest magician in the land, obviously suffered a bit.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what happened to Roswell. We also get more clarification on how the Roswell line is passed down, and it's apparently passed down by consciousness. Is that not the way it was explained? Because I was like, that doesn't make near enough sense. Am I reading this right?
I thought it was just passed down by generation to generation. I didn't think there was any consciousness passed down, but I did have a note that's like Subaru like says something about the possibility of like the Mathers family being like a puppet, but Roswell dismisses it as like a funny joke, and I'm like, I wonder, is it really, or is Subaru getting at something here?
I really need a screenshot
because there's so much foreshadowing here, and sometimes you don't know if to pass it off as a joke or if it's legit or not. I've noticed the author does this quite often. He makes jokes about things that are actually true. Like he'll make a joke to like throw you off to make you think it's not that, but when in actuality it's exactly that.
So he's a big troll.
He is a huge troll.
So we are then introduced to Louise, which is the owner of the place they are in, and the one who apparently raised Garfield.
Yes.
We then get, in my opinion, some very cringy dialogue of Subaru calling Louise a lolly granny, and then Louise giving Subaru an equally terrible nickname as well, which is Subo.
In fairness, she adds boo to like she calls Garbo like Rosbo. And everyone.
Garbo, which is a bunch of Garbo.
Garbo.
Garbo is a bunch of...
Hey,
we then learn why the people of the mansion are kept in sanctuary, and, well, that's because of, the words, the reasons, you know.
The reason.
Passing it off to you.
Okay, so there's a few things. You mentioned Subaru had foggy memories, and I think why he didn't get the I've lost my train of thought.
I just disliked everything about this chapter, to be honest.
So
I didn't like it.
I mean, I don't really have a huge much more to say. Like, there's a few things I could say, but it's a bit. There's references to the sages, but I don't want to touch on that just yet. And you mentioned something about the in your notes, I think, about the qualification, about why I didn't mention he had the qualification, and you mentioned it as well, that Subaru said he was frustrated by his indecisive memories, and I'll just say this now, that there is a reason for that. It will come into play later. It's you could say it's the true price of the Tea Party of sorts. But
well, I guess I should really just kind of explain why I dislike this chapter, just from a technical standpoint, not really from a story standpoint. I felt like all the dialogue was retreading over stuff that I felt like I already knew. Like, I could
touch on a lot of it. We theorized about some of this like last time as well. Like Subaru, I think they pretty much confirmed that like the purpose of like liberating the sanctuary was like for the purpose of gaining support, like for Amelia's faction. We kind of like summarized that like last month or like 2 months, whenever we did like the last one, and like they pretty much confirmed it in this one, but it felt kind of obvious.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, I felt this whole chapter just could have been way shorter, because honestly, it felt like just a lot of fluff.
I didn't make
lots of fluff.
I didn't make many notes in this one either. I kind of get what you mean. There were a few things I had to take note of, but there's one thing I want to make note of before. I want to talk about it when we talk about chapter 15, and that's that people from the sanctuary can't face the trials due to it being in their contract, quote unquote, which I'm still unsure what that is exactly. But I don't think this is necessarily going to be true. If no one's challenged it like before, how do they know that they can't challenge it unless their contract just generally forbids them from entering? But I don't know.
Maybe it's one of those things.
It's going to come up again in chapter 15, and there's going to be a contradiction that I'm going to talk about, and it won't make much sense to anyone unless you've read ahead. But that there is a contradiction I want to talk about in chapter 15 as well. But I think that's about it for me. There was one more thing. Garfield says a funny thing as well. He says, "Aha, toughen up a bit. Panicking and getting teary face as soon as you saw your little buddy go down. Your face is more blue than an Amigaro, as they say." There were a few funny Garfield quotes actually in these 5 chapters that we read.
I wonder, Garfield has so many weird references.
Yeah.
That I don't get.
No,
that I have to search up.
I don't think anyone gets them. Maybe the author might. I'm not sure if even the author gets them.
Like, I noticed, like, the last couple episodes, we always had something to talk about. We had to search up. I felt like this one, I didn't feel like there was really anything to search up.
Let's have a look. Aomiguro. Will it come back with anything? All I'm getting is links to ReZero. Nothing. Oh, there's something called Photogram with the hashtag of it. Oh, but nothing's coming up. No post yet. That, of course.
So, big question:
Yes.
why didn't Subaru just go out and say, "Hey, I can take the trials"? He still didn't do it for like until he just ran in the last chapter 15.
So it's a mixture of his indecisive memories, and he also like promised that he wouldn't speak of like Echidonna, and if he mentioned he'd like gained like the qualification, they'd be like, how? And it'd sort of back himself into like a corner, so to speak, I think. But
well, at that point you say, I can't tell you.
I'm not sure
like
I'm not sure that would work in Subaru's defense. Maybe I'm not sure, but there is a reason why his memories are foggy, and perhaps why he didn't say as well. But we'll get to that probably around chapter 20, 30 maybe. I don't know.
Speaking of the next chapter, chapter 14, questions and answers.
Yes.
Roswaal and Subaru further their conversation, and we find out that Roswaal knew that the mansion would be attacked by the cult and did absolutely nothing about it. But he did nothing so that Amelia could get the credit for leading the charge against the cult and starting an alliance with Krush. We then find out that all this happened as well because this was in a way to have Subaru prove himself to Roswaal, and whether Subaru cares about Roswaal or not, Roswaal trusts Subaru now, and Roswaal wants to knight Subaru. But Subaru just cannot understand his reasoning for any of this, and he basically leaves and vows never to ever trust Roswaal again. And then Ram comes in to straighten up his sheets, and we see Roswaal has a gospel.
Yes.
And he starts tracing his finger over it, and he's laughing.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So, do you think... So Roswell's actions are very bizarre, and they would only make sense to me if he somehow knew what was going to happen. Like, maybe if it was written in a gospel, perhaps. Like, you wouldn't make those decisions, other you? Like, just saying, oh, because I trusted you. That's not... like,
it's
like when you see what Subaru was before Roswell like left, but in Arc 3, you think, nah, yeah, you knew something, didn't you, buddy?
Oh, totally. Like,
and it's somewhat twisted as well, sort of like just abandoning them for the sake of putting feats to their names.
It almost, if there is a betrayal in the future with Roswaal, man, I'd believe it.
Yeah.
Just from this chapter. This chapter would foretell that pretty easily.
From what I gather, Roswaal is one of the most important characters to the plot there is. So it would not be surprised if there's some twists and turns along the way. They do come to blows in like chapter 36 or 37. Subaru goes to like try and strangle him, like quite literally.
I would too.
That's something for later though. I did find it interesting that Subaru's getting a knighthood though, and I think he will truly deserve it after everything that's going to happen in Arc 4 as well. I mean, I think he already deserves it after everything like that he prevented in Arc 3, but he's gonna do some impressive things in Arc 4.
It'll be interesting to see where it heads with the whole knighting thing and what that means.
From what
will he accept it? Will he not?
From what I understand, he does accept it, and it happens at the end of Arc 4, at like the very end. So that's something for us to really look forward to.
So
I also put in my notes that it's Sir Subaru with a British accent, drinking tea and killing zombies.
Fuck.
Since he's now a knight.
I remember what I was gonna say. There was this little moment where Subaru was just he either asks about Rem or something like that, and Rem goes, "I don't know who you're talking about."
And she just makes like a comment about her just how much she worships Roswell or I just think she needs to remember
she blindly trusts Roswell no matter what.
I think Ram,
even if it puts her in danger.
Ram needs to remember Rem pronto. I think she's misplacing her trust there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
the whole memory losing thing has really just messed with so many people. I think because it's like they still have those like feelings of Rem still being there, but now that Rem's gone, it's like, where were these feelings? Like, who to trust? And it's trusting the wrong people with, for example, Rem. Or
that's the thing. Like, and when you say that thing about trust, like Subaru is very much like alone in this arc. He doesn't really have anyone to like rely on. Like Amelia is. I don't really want to say what Amelia's doing without spoiling it too much, but Subaru for the most part is relying solely on himself to sort of figure out everything that's happening at the sanctuary. It's a dark time for Subaru.
Yeah, this whole
he holds up pretty well, surprisingly, but
this whole chapter is just crazy interesting and just a game changer, really. Think of the implications of what Roswell was doing at the end there, and what that means for the story moving forward, and for Amelia and Subaru.
Yeah, you won't have to wait long to find out what exactly what his gospel does exactly, but it's very important to the story. We will. I'll leave it at that. But
he's got a hentai collection.
That too, yeah. He strikes me as a bit of a. I mean, he looks like Michael Jackson, so of course he'd have a hentai collection.
Shamona.
Oh yeah, Billie Jean's not my love. So I'm a rock and roll star.
You just went to Oasis right there.
Yeah, Russell was actually Bonehead.
This is Paul Authors.
Yeah.
Wow.
So getting back to ReZero though, there was something rather bizarre, I thought. Like Roswell kept saying like Amelia's not like ready for like the real selection, and there's so much knowledge she still needs to learn, and that's why he like kept things from her. But just like keeping her in the dark really helped though. It's like she's gonna have to like get to it eventually. And there was something else as well. I'm not sure if it was mentioned in this chapter, but I think Subaru was like flirting with like Amelia, and she was like, let's save it for after the royal selection. So he was like, oh, I've got to wait 3 years. So that was which was kind of interesting, because it gives like an insight into like how far away like the royal selection is going to be. So, and I know for a fact after Arc 4 we have a 1 year time skip. So after that we'll have 2 years before the royal selection.
So Subo is going to grow up into a big young man.
It gives a wee bit perspective on the time that's going to pass, which I thought was kind of cool.
So what you're saying is no Amiria and Subo getting it on in chapter 16?
No, but you might be lucky for chapter 65 and 66.
Chapter
maybe.
69, you mean?
That too. Who knows? Maybe. Sounds like a good number for that sort of thing, doesn't it?
Chapter 50.
Oh, wait, there's a few more notes. Like it's mostly gag, like funny comedy things, but
Of course.
I just wanted to put them out there. So I have one note that says Otto the backstabbing slut, and in brackets I've got a quotation from Subaru where he says, most likely she'll meet up with Otto on the way, though I am a bit worried about having him alone with her. That bastard Otto will probably make a move on her. Oh, what do I do? Amelia's hand is super mega adorable. Oh no, I'm getting worried.
Oh yeah. I love those little quirks where Subaru, like, it's usually like once a chapter.
Yeah.
That's when I notice it. It's always once a chapter. At least one where he's like, I turn over and look at Amelia. Oh my gosh, she's super cute.
like the past 30 chapters or so, we haven't really had a huge amount of Amelia, and that's because, I mean, I'm not going to say why that is, but you'll start to get more of around like chapter 65 again, and but it does when Amelia sort of leaves the picture, it starts to get a bit more dark.
I think I have some notes here about Amelia in chapter 15. So is that all you got for chapter
Oh
14?
no, I've got like 2 more, I think. So Roswell says when he's talking about like how he just left them to fend for themselves, like in Arc 3, he says, how could I deny it? After all, it was a disaster that I can completely certain was going to happen. How could I possibly not use that to the fullest? I thought he would make a great Conservative MP. He should be the British Prime Minister. But what little rat bag.
Well, I mean, at this point, I'm okay with like Puck leading the United States. So, anything will do.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I had was so Roswell says to be despised by my partner of my heart. It does feel painful to be thought of this way, as I had only been thinking to myself how childish I still am, my spiteful friend. And it just makes me think, when he says it that way, who is Subaru to Roswell? It sounds like like they're partners in crime almost. And he just doesn't remember, which would make sense to me. There must be something in his past that he's forgetting. Because why else would like Satella just bring him to this world and give him his power, and he just know nothing about it? And like you'll see, like soon enough when you go back to like the flashbacks, that there's no hint in his flashbacks that there's any connection with Satella, but there must be something. He's had his memories wiped. There's even like a comment by Roswell in like chapter 40 or something that says, "Have you remembered yet, Subaru?" And like everyone in the comment section is like, "The fuck is he going on about?" And there must be something that happens like. But before he came to this world, there must be.
Oh, I think I know what he's not remembering. I think I got it. It's pretty obvious.
They like Shuriken.
It's
No. Yeah.
So Subaru and Amelia
Miritan
have already done it, right? But it was such an amazing do, that they forgot.
Do you think that they had that? Do you think someone spiked their drinks?
Their drinks.
The drinks.
Someone spiked their drinks.
Okay.
Okay. Don't do drug name, okay. Who's buying? Anyways, chapter 15. Yep. Qualifications and trials. The first part of this chapter is about Subaru with Otto going into the tomb to see if there's, anything dangerous, Yeah. He like ties a rope around him. Make sure it's okay. After that, Subaru exits, and they find Garfield, who gives them somewhat of a lecture about not to be alone, because you never know. Skipping to nightfall, pretty much, Amelia is prepared to take the trials, and she goes in. The lights go out, and Subaru's like, "Oh no, Maria!" And then rushes. Wow. Okay. Rushes in to save Amelia, but because he has the qualifications as well, he's now forced to take the trials. And the first of the trials is to go through their past, and Subaru passes out, and we get our first helping of Subaru backstory.
Yeah.
He wakes up in his room, basically, when his dad is applying an arm bar, because he's apparently a fan of wrestling.
I think his dad is Shawn Michaels. I know I'm sexy. We got the looks.
Got the looks.
That drives Amelia wild.
Drives the girls wild. Oh man.
I mostly made just comedy notes for this chapter. There's a few more serious ones that I like, a couple. But do you want to start with your notes?
Yeah. I thought the first half of this was a little bit weak. A little bit of padding.
Yeah.
It wasn't as to me.
There was an amusing interaction between Otto and Subaru and Amelia and Subaru that I really liked, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, but from there the pacing was pretty great, and I really like this chapter. To be honest, I think this was one of the easier chapters to read so far, and I like now that Amelia is kind of openly flirting. With Subaru in a more romantic manner. Oh, she's
definitely digging Subaru. In chapter 65, which takes place like 4 or 5 days after the events I guess in this chapter, chronologically speaking, there's obviously been like Return by Death since then, but like there's like three or 4 days after, and she is like Subaru's been gone for a while, and he comes back, and she's there is love in the air. Let's put it that way.
What are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to tell me that there's love in the air here?
Yeah. There's love
but
in the air.
I mean, I backstory for Subaru.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's
like, I want to know more about him.
It's such a good backstory too. It's not. You'd think with a character like Subaru, they'd give him like the most tragic backstory ever, but it's a very like standard, relatable like backstory for a standard like shut-in like anime nerd, really, and it's that's what makes it so much more relatable than something like Sword Art Online.
Kirito was an amazing MMO player. No one could dare touch him, but he's a total nerd, guys. No one likes him.
Like all of Subaru's, I guess issues are problems of his own causing, which is almost like the saddest thing as well. It's a really good backstory, and his parents are the greatest parents you will ever meet. They are such great parents.
I doubt this.
They're really good.
Because my dad was Hulk Hogan. Okay, he's like, "What you gonna do, brother?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Dad. Stop calling me brother. That's weird." Eat your vitamins to say your prayers. I'm agnostic.
You may change your mind after the backstory.
I'll definitely eat my vitamins, though. That's good. You gotta get more of that. But I think as much as I want Subaru backstory, I kind of want Amelia backstory, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like that's the way we're heading. After chapter 65, she's
almost 100.
Yeah.
Like what? Like, and she looks like she's 17.
That is the way it is. I think we're going to get one very soon. Not for you, but for me. And I'll probably be able to tell you in the next couple of weeks if we get that. And I think we will. As I've seen, because there's like artwork like floating around on Twitter, like Crunchyroll always retweets like whenever ReZero gets a new light novel in Japan, they always retweet like the cover art or like an article about it, and you see, and there's been one with a young Amelia and a younger. Can I say it? Can I spoil?
Nope, no spoils.
Okay, no spoils. But but like the front cover, like the artwork for I think number 14 or 15, it's like a young Amelia. So that's getting a backstory for sure.
Yeah, she's kind of seen more supporting character-ish since I started reading the web novel.
She will for a bit, but I think from chapter 65 onwards, she's going to have a bigger role to play.
I'm interested to see where this heads. I don't know why it is, but when I first start reading like the batch, like the first 5 chapters of like, it's always the first 2 chapters of these 5 that we always read that I'm always like, I gotta read this. And then at the end I'm like, oh, so I need more.
Yeah.
And I think this will break that cycle.
Maybe. I mean,
hopefully.
That's. I know what you mean. After reading like chapter 65, I was screaming internally like, I need more, moto. Oh god, it was just so good.
Yamate.
But going into the notes I've made way too many, and they're mostly inconsequential things. But one of my notes says EMT needs a rape alarm immediately. So when
rape alarm never change.
So when like Subaru and Otto are going to they're going to check out like the tomb, Subaru says what like when because they didn't take Amelia with her, Subaru says like surprisingly Amelia Tan's no good in the mornings, even though Amelia Tan being groggy after just waking up is dangerously adorable. I get that rape alarm for her quick.
Here's another one. There's another one of those dangerously adorable things.
And
Dangerously Adorable is a punk band.
May have to check them out. I've not heard. It sounds like
No, they're not an
it sounds like an
actual-
interesting.
They're not an actual. Oh my god! I scrolled all the way down, and I'm like, oh, there's 2 extra pages. What could this be? And I regret it immediately.
Is that the Darling in the Franxx and the other thing I put in there?
Let's not talk about it.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about
okay,
it.
moving on. So also says so you've got the men together through a skullduggery while the princess is asleep. You, sir, are a wicked one.
Oh yeah, that was a good line. I like that one.
It's like a fucking Osso, man. What a hero. And,
So
and he
good.
also makes like a reference to his magic being used for like stifling the sound of footsteps, and like Subaru basically calls him a thief. and like later on when like Garfield asks what they're doing, Otto goes, and that's hang on, let me find the quote again. Oh yeah, Otto goes, oh yeah, that's right, we're not doing anything especially troublesome or suspicious or anything like that. Just a little rehearsal for the grave robbing later. Just a little rehearsal, that sort of thing. And then Steve was like, that's amazing. Also, I've never seen a man dig his own grave quite happily in front of another grave before.
I love Subaru Auto.
Yeah.
Subaru X Auto. It's the original ship.
Oh god, their relationship is freaking hilarious. It's just I'm not sure what the word here. The character compatibility, I guess. Oh my god, it's great.
They're the comedic relief characters.
I mean, it's much needed when you realise like how dark the show can get. Yeah, it's great to have these characters.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so what was next?
You always need those characters, though.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So you have like some shows that are like so dark, and they just never have a payoff, and it's like if there's not a happy ending, if there's not a payoff, like what was the point?
That's kind of like Inuyashiki in like an opposite way, where it's the whole hope thing, and then it's such a dark. Like Inuyashiki is so dark, but it has that. Like it doesn't end. It doesn't.
Yeah,
end.
You need that
like
hope
there's
to
always
pay
a
off
good
it too.
ending somewhere. Yeah.
And so what was my next note? So the Sanctuary is split into factions. So there's the loose faction that allegedly would pretty much hold Amelia at ransom and make them sort of take the trials by force versus the factions that don't want them to do that. Which was interesting because I've read 65 chapters now, and in none of these chapters have I seen much of these factions doing the things that they implied they would in this chapter. I've thought this for a while, and it just like it just came back to my mind again when I was reading this chapter. I'm not sure if it will happen by the end of the chapter, but so far it just feels like an empty plot point they've made just for the sake of consistency without really using it properly. Like you've made a plot point, now you have to kind of like deliver on it, I guess. And so far they haven't done that.
You have to follow through.
But
yeah,
I mean,
lots of questions, not a lot of answers.
He's a very talented author, though, so it could come into play later. But I feel like this could be one thing he may have overlooked. What was next? So Lou said she took part in the trials, but in the previous chapter, either 13 or 14, she said nobody has ever taken the trials before because of the contract, that the people of the Sanctuary are forbidden from taking the trials.
Well, she's apparently older, right?
Yeah.
So could it have been before the contract?
I don't think so, because the Sanctuary was formed like almost 400 years ago. I mean, she's only like 112 or something. I mean, I'm only teasing this because I know the reason why, but I just thought it was.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
It was an interesting plot point I wanted to bring up.
You son of a bitch! You got me again. Anything else?
I guess there was one more. Was there one more? Oh yeah, it's when like so Subaru, Otto, and Garfield are outside the tomb, and it says, and the narration goes like the noisy Otto on one hand and the really hard to hate Garfield on the other, being together with to like this for the first time since coming to this world, Subaru felt like he'd acquired some bad companions. He could actually be his equals in the truest sense of the word. I thought it was kind of nice that he's got some friends now. He's feeling at home a bit. So he's had to deal with a lot of shit. He's gonna have to deal with a lot more this arc, but
it does make me wonder, like how like Subaru has to be more special than they let on. Like just even when he was on Earth, he had to be more of a special person than the other person because
I can tell you something.
He's went through a lot.
Subaru has the potential to be something, and one of those things helped seal the Witch of Envy. And I won't really go into any more details, but I'll leave it at that.
I mean, like he's all the things he's been through. Like you can't tell me that he's not a special type of person. Like he's got to be more than just a regular old human being who just got so happened to teleport into this other world. I think it's something more than that.
100%. Yeah, I completely agree. There must be. I think
because he's. Yeah, I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah, I don't really have much else to say on it. I think I said pretty much my thoughts in, is it chapter 14 or 12? I don't know, but yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Put down in the comments what you think Subaru really is. Is he really a werewolf?
It's a lesbian vampire killer.
Exactly. Is he a dusk maiden of amnesia?
Maybe. I like that anime. That's a really good anime. I mean, like the ending. Was the ending good? Like there were bits that were kind of iffy, but overall it was a pretty solid show, I thought.
Well, I think we've hit all of our ReZero notes. Is there anything talking shop wise you want to tell the viewers before we go?
I like Yuri. And hentai and things.
Yeah. Sounds about right. I'd like to say this Wednesday there will be a new podcast. It's not technically my podcast. It's a group podcast. It's called the Anime Nomadic Podcast. The first episode will be over looking up at the half moon, which is a 6-episode anime that was from 2006. So
lies, it's a hentai actually.
God damn it. All of you 2006ers out there.
I ruined your plug. Not the butt plug though.
Well,
that's so clean.
But if you're already not familiar with the Anime Nomad Podcast and what it is, it's called the Anime Nomad Podcast because it wanders from channel to channel. So each month there'll be one episode a month, and each month it'll switch channels. I just so happened to drew the closest number to number 6, which was 6. I drew 6. So it's on my channel first. And then next, I think will be Obby or Rising. If those two are swappable at this point, I forget which one. It's either Obby or Risings. And then the last person will be Conda Fiction. That will be on his channel. And on Conda Fiction's channel, he'll get a bonus episode, which is the episode in which you guys vote for anime for us to watch. And whatever has the most votes in the comments collectively on each channel, that's the one we'll watch. And if it's a tie, we'll just, I guess, heads or tails,
make
whatever.
Love.
Make love.
The person who comes first loses.
And if you want to vote, don't go, oh, watch One Piece. The limit is 26 episodes. So that's that's a personal limit, and it's just it works better if the limit is 26 episodes.
Yeah, you could be waiting a long time if you were going to do a One Piece podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure. And if you want to watch with us for the next episode on Obby's channel or Rising Sun's channel, I think it's Obby's. Yeah, it's the next episode is on Obby's channel. I know this for the fact now because the next episode will be over Hyoka from Kyoto Animation. So if you want to watch it,
that's a bad anime. I don't recommend it.
Wow. I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you in the streets. So yeah, that's really what I want to talk about. I will fight you in the streets.
I will fight you on the landing grounds. Fight you in the homes. On the beaches.
Anything else?
I think we're done, aren't we? Yeah, I can't think of anything worthwhile I wanna add. Apart from I love Amelia. More than Subaru.
Classic. So thanks everybody for watching the Rezo podcast. I know we took like a month off there, but
2 months.
It was for good reasons.
I thought this podcast went pretty well, actually, overall.
Yeah, I think so too. So turn into the next episode, and if you've watched this far, geez, thank you. Make sure to give it a like. Yeah. Just give it a like. Put it on the comments.
Like for Amelia. Like for Garfield.
Yeah, like for
me.
Like for Amelia. Not for him.
Oh. Just say it. Say it, Panda. Go.
Now I'm sad too. You made me sad. Anyways, I hope you had a fun time watching this video. See you later.
Bye-bye.